fantastic evening, and our Trump is here being the DJ, and I've just danced, and everyone's amazed.
Woof. In any event, that's Roseanne Barr having fun as you do at a Kari Lake fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago, and our Trump was there, which was great. He was the DJ. I would love to hear what songs he picked. But in any event, there is a wild twist to this story. So she's sort of keeping it together for Roseanne, but there's a crazy twist to the story. We'll get to that in one sec. But first, I want to give you a little bit more of where she goes from just being Roseanne to being like full caps Roseanne. Take a look at this.
So I'm just going to say to you, please drop out of college because it's going to ruin your lives. Do me a favor, drop out. They don't teach you nothing good. Email me or Twitter me or whatever you call me, and I'll help you with your life. But you got to get out of college because it isn't nothing but devil-worshipping, baby blood-drinking Democrat donors. Love ya.
What really made that video was the final pan to Trump, like that in the portrait. So what is she talking about? You're trying to encourage people like support Kari Lake, and you get off on how all the colleges are drinking baby blood. Stay on message, Roseanne. Come on, you got to switch over to coffee at some point. What do you think, Brett?
I like this, Roseanne, man. More of this. Less of like Planet of the Apes. Like, do this. Do less. I thought the bitch was white, and more like, hey, drop out of college and let me do your hair. Come to Annie Rose's house, and we'll order pizza and we'll watch Housewives.
Before we continue with the story, we depend on members to keep on going. Don't wait. Click join now on YouTube.
It's so funny when you remember that this is one of the top, most undeniably successful stand-up comedians of all time. Roseanne Barr.
Super fast. Wait, I didn't really listen to her stand-up. I liked Roseanne, the show. Was her stand-up good?
Yeah, it was great.
Okay, good. Well, then she earned it then. But yeah, she's really something. But that should be the show. Whatever her Fox Nation show is, it should be that instead. But I want to give you just a little bit more of her being herself. She tweeted prior to that event, on my way to Mar-a-Lago to help support the great Kari Lake, we must try to vote our way out of this for at least one last year. And then if that doesn't work, 1776. So that is her attachment to democracy. If it works for us just once, we can have a democracy. But if it doesn't, the blood starts flowing, and not just at Harvard, in the streets of Washington, D.C. But in any event, she eventually made it to that event. She was served quite a bit. It doesn't appear that she was, that they stopped serving her like they reportedly did for Lauren Boebert at a different fundraiser. But here's the twist, okay? I previewed a twist. Because if you see that and you think that like she's a celebrity guest or whatever, and like, oh my God, she's falling apart, then poor Kari Lake. No, not poor Kari Lake. She ain't poor. She raised $1 million at that event at Mar-a-Lago, which is a lot of money. That is not, it looks not enough to run a whole Senate campaign for, but at one event, $1 million. I mean, sure, you're gonna have to pay off the bill for however much Pinot Grigio they pumped into Roseanne, but even after that, you're still gonna have like $750,000. That's a lot of money. And so we'll get to the other numbers here, but what do you make of that?
So none of the people in this movement care about their voters at all. This is what it's for. It's to raise the money, and they'll say and do whatever is necessary for you to give, for folks to show up and give them cash. Either the rich people giving her cash at these fundraisers because they want to be in an in crowd and have access to the things that actually affect the rich people. That's where it breaks down. Like on a fundamental level, if I can get Kari Lake, Roseanne Barr, Donald Trump to do what I want as just some random schmo in this, somewhere between the Pacific and the Atlantic and north of Mexico, south of Canada, like that's great. That's kind of how it's perverted. It's a perverted version of that. It's a ridiculous version of that, but that's more what people want than what typically they perceive to happen in Washington, they're like, people don't listen to me. But what's sad is like, what's motivating Roseanne Barr is not her political leanings at all. It's the fact that she is an exaggerated version of Bill Maher and Dave Chappelle and everybody. Like she was kind of canceled by a group that once undeniably loved her. And she's just so mad. She'll just toss this like, yeah, there's unicorn blood. I don't think she believes that. I think she's just trying to fight fire with fire, as she perceives fire to have taken her down.
Maybe. Look, it's hard to say who's a true believer and who's just grifting. To me, she reads as a little bit more authentic in some of these beliefs than some of the others. But it can still be the same causal mechanism that you identified. She was rejected by a group that had liked her for a very long time. So she ran into the arms of those who would accept her. And along the way, she's radicalized and she starts to trust these people. And that's a really bad idea because they believe utterly insane things. That's more of my read, but I guess we disagree there.
I think this is my take, is I think that comedians will actually get us out of this horrible situation we're in of partisanship and extremism and stupidity, threatening the general normal people within a group, because it's so easy to pick them out. And I think comedians need to be empowered to neutralize that stuff, and you need to not get too mad at comedians along the way. That said, you have comedians that are, Roseanne Barr epitomizes them, who are no longer comedians. Now they're just bitter.
Yeah.
And that's not motivating them the way that like a hunt for truth and hilarity is what motivates a typical comedian.
Yeah, there's a lot of bitterness to go around.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.